I love national parks. The natural scenery, the wildlife, and especially the maps. The maps are all fantastic. They're all artwork, right? This is one of my favorites, Crater Lake National Park. It's probably in my top 5 national parks to visit. And luckily, this is only about 5 hours from where I live by motorcycle. So I go down there every once in a while. And when I go to a national park, I always pick up a couple of maps. One to look at and one to archive.
Yes. I am a nerd.
Bravo.
Thank you.
This is an especially good map, I think, by the great and powerful Tom Patterson of the National Park Service. And it's got some elements in there that I haven't seen in national park maps before. Now, if we zoom into the lake in this map, we can see that there's some really great bathymetry in the lake. And zooming into the northwest portion of the caldera, we can see that there's a pumice field there, and the surrounding forestation is actually highly accurate. Now, I hit up Mr. Patterson for a how-to on this portion, and he was nice enough to give it to me. So I will probably be doing a video in the future on that fun little technique. It's kind of unique amongst the maps. Now, I thought this would be a really good project to give a shot. We're not going to presume to improve on Mr. Patterson's fantastic work, but see if we can lend a little coolness to it of my own and have some fun and make it 3D and take a chunk out of the earth along with it. So, let's get into it. All right, let's start this project with a fresh copy of ArcPRO. Add a map, and let's zoom in to our area of interest, Crater Lake National Park in southwest Oregon on the west slope of the beautiful Cascade Mountains. Let's add a bookmark because we're going to be jumping between a couple of things here, and bookmarks make life fast and easy, right? Let's add that. So now we need a little bit of a digital elevation model. And so if we type terrain into the Living Atlas, get a lot of options, and I've tried, not all of them, but a good portion of them, and I keep going back to one that's called Simply Terrain. So let's add that. Right click, add to our current map. And we will see when it comes in, it encompasses the entire planet. Oh, good use of a bookmark. Yep, we're in the right place. So far, so good. So now we also need our national park boundaries. So let's go in and add national park. And we get a great data set called USA Parks that I use quite a bit. So we'll add that. And when it comes in, you'll see it's all the parks in the US, but we only need Crater Lake. So let's definition query our park boundaries. So it is isolated in our map. There we go. Even better. All right. So now we have to add our map. So if we go to the National Park Service Crater Lake site, they have a map on there, but it's close, but it doesn't have everything we want. So we have to dig a little deeper and go to the Harpers Ferry Center and find Crater Lake map. And if we scroll down, there's a bunch of maps, but there's the one we want, Crater Lake. And we can download that in a bunch of versions, but we'll choose the JPEG and we'll add to the map. And well, it says it's in there, but where to come in? Well, let's zoom to that layer and, well, there it is, but where is it? It's lost at sea. It's lost at sea off the coast of Africa, also known as Null Island. Not lost for long, though, because through the magic of the georeferencing tools, we can bring it into our project. So if we find a obvious control point corner and use our bookmark and find the corresponding corner, that brings it in. Looking good, but it's way smaller than we want. So let's find another point that we can reference. How about this other opposite corner down here in our GIS? Oh, look at that. Okay, getting close. We're getting close. So let's look at a couple other points. This one could use a little attention, I guess. So let's put a couple points there, and brought that in pretty nice. And one more. If these control points kind of opposite one another, it seems to work pretty well for me. In this case, we could add a bunch more, but we don't need to. Some areas you will see that don't match very well, and I think that's the difference between the artistry of the map and the GIS data. So for this project, we'll call that good. So let's go ahead and save that and close our georeference. And of course, always save once in a while. So now let's add a little polygon here, shall we? I like a polygon map note. We can use that as a tool in just a minute, and you'll see. So let's create a polygon note. Let's make that just inside of our map JPEG. There we go. I think that's going to work. So we can turn off a couple things just to double check. Looks like we're in the right place. So now let's get rid of most of our original terrain model. And so we can use this tool called Export Raster. So let's give it a name. And call that Terrain 2. How original. Yeah, works for now. And now Esri, see we have these red boxes down here below. With Esri we can't export more than 4,000 by 4,000. Or I'm sorry, 5,000 by 5,000. So let's set that 4,999 and 4,999, and the red boxes should go away. Yep, they do. Everything else looks good, and we can export. And now it's all done. Okay, good. See, I brought that in for us. So let's zoom out a little bit and double check. Turn that original terrain off. Yep, looking good. Okay. We like it. Well, it's still more than we need, so let's use a tool called Clip Raster. And we can finish trimming this DEM out. Yeah, need to spell. Clip Raster. Okay, sound it out. And so let's use our input raster of our terrain 2 that we just created. And our output extent is going to be our polygon nodes that we just created as well. Everything else looks good, so let's run that. All right. So let's turn that. Perfect. All right, so now we've got it clipped to our map JPEG boundary. Now we can do the same thing with our Crater Lake JPEG, because comes in with some white areas around there. So let's get rid of those white areas by doing the same thing. And we can put our input raster this time of our Crater Lake JPEG. And our output extent is still polygon notes. And we can rename this Crater Lake. Oh, let's use underscores. You never know what's going to choke on just a space. Crater Lake clip. Okay. And that's done running. So let's now take a look at that. Take our old Crater. Turn our new one off. Perfect. All right. Our digital elevation model is clipped correctly. Our map is now clipped correctly. Yep. We can do a little housekeeping and get rid of some of these other data sets we don't need anymore. And we can even turn these canned base maps off. And save. And now that we've got all our data set up, yeah, looking good. Okay, our data's all set up. So let's go to our View tab and convert it to a global scene. There we go. Now we have a global scene. And so let's turn off our parks. Let's take a quick look in here and say, oh, 3D, super cool. It doesn't look quite as dramatic as when you're standing at the lodge. Well, let's put our map on top of it and see how cool this is. Now the map easily just drapes right over the top of it. Really great. All right. So, again, it's not as dramatic as we would like. Yeah, it's good. It's the right spot here. So let's copy this terrain clip. And add it to our map. And then slide that down underneath elevation surfaces so the elevation part of it is only aware of that surface and not our world hillshade. See, if we're standing at the lodge, see, it looks pretty good. I wish it was just a little more dramatic. So let's exaggerate the vertical a little bit. And if we go to ground and elevation surface, we can use our vertical exaggeration tool. Let's try 5. 5. Ooh, that's a little too dramatic. All right, too much. Way too much. Let's try 3. Yeah. 2.5. Yeah, still more than I want, I think. Let's go 2.25. Let's stick with that, whatever it comes out to be. All right. Cool. I like it. I like it. But you're saying, hey, Carto-Madness guy, there isn't any 3D-ness here in the lake. Well, that's because our digital elevation model doesn't include anything underwater. So we have to go out and do a scavenger hunt and look for, see if there's any kind of bathymetry data for that. So we'll go to our friend Google and type in Crater Lake bathymetry shapefile. And I found if you add shapefile just about anything, you can get close to where you want to go anyway. So let's go to Data Lake. Crater Lake Data Clearinghouse. Who thought there was even such a thing? and bathymetry, and you can see that there's as much bathymetry as you could ever want for Crater Lake. How about that? Cool, huh? So let's download it, add it to our map, and add it to current. And here it comes. All right, looking okay, I think. So let's slide that down under our elevation surface on top of our terrain too. And once that happens, ooh, underwater topography. I like it. All right, stick around for part 2.